Make sure that we had some good things for the 100th anniversary. So here are some good things. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So what a night. Happy birthday, HGS. Woo! And how wonderful we can celebrate together. What a turnout. Thank you everybody for coming. Please, I hope you're enjoying the meal. Is it pretty good? Good, all right. So as you're enjoying the meal, I just want to share a few things about HGS. We want to thank you for being here. We want to thank our very generous sponsors. And if you would like to sponsor, there's a fun way to do it. We're having a silent wine auction in the other room. And that will be going to 9 o'clock tonight if you want to join in the fun. It's in this room right next to the checking desk. And thank you, Jeff Lund, for making it happen. Now, geologists love challenges, and we didn't want to miss a chance to say thank you to everybody for being here tonight, and we wanted to have a group photo. Now, that's a bit of a challenge, because we have about 130 people, so we were going to do it over there, but I think Jesus, our photographer, we're going to do it up here. So that's going to be at 8:45. We want you in that historic photo. And speaking of photos, as Paul mentioned, please be taking some fun and creative photos for the selfie contest, because we will pick out as many as we can and we'll put them in the HGS bulletin to let people know how much fun we had here tonight. I'm Charles Sternbach, together with Linda Sternbach. We're the co-chairs of the 100th Anniversary Committee. We have an experienced and enthusiastic team. We want to thank them here. And we've been at this a little while. I found a social media post, and so it starts. Our 100th anniversary kickoff organizing meeting was date stamped September 1st, 2016. So we've been working behind the scenes for 7 years to kind of make sure that we had some good things for the 100th anniversary. So here are some good things. Some of you may have been, all right, who went to the April GeoGolf meeting? Yeah, all right. And who volunteered? We want to thank our volunteers. Thank you, volunteers, for that meeting. The thought was, if HGS is going to have a 100th anniversary, we want to do it with our friends. We want a group hug with the Gulf Coast Society. Number one. Number two, 2 months ago, just down the hall, we had an August 8, 2023 past President's Lunch right here at the Petroleum Club. And if you look in the photo, there's HGS President Walter Light, number 99, getting promoted to become a past president by our current president, number 100, Paul Britt. And then, the third thing we wanted to do is we wanted to have a special issue of the HGS Bulletin to talk about what have we been up to lately. And if you haven't already seen it, we have PDFs that all members can access, and we have hard copies at the front desk. And I want to say thank you, Lisa Kruger, who's here, doing the beautiful graphic art. And the fourth thing we wanted to do this year, this is the Gala. This is the topper. This is the main event for the 100th anniversary year. Share it all together. So let's look at a few publication milestones of HGS through our century. There was a book by Alva Ellisor called Rockhounds of Houston. And if you flip through it, it tells about all the wonderful things that the early part of our society was doing. But I have to tell you, it's all black and white, and there are no pictures. But it's a great story, lots of great stories. The 75th anniversary, shout out to Greg Dingler, we had this incredible publication talking about the things that the society has done. But as you know, as we go from Rockhounds to today, that we have a lot more color, more photos, more bandwidth, more information. And you know what? That's kind of the way Houston is. So back here, let's look at Houston population. In 1923, when HGS was founded, Houston had 175,000 members, or 175,000 citizens. We were the 40th largest city in our nation. But for the 75th and for the 100th, we're well over 2 million in the greater Houston area, and we're the 4th largest city in the nation. So that's quite a growth curve. Does anybody know why we really grew in post-World War II in the 1950s? Houston population took off. Believe it or not, you're absolutely right, Richard Ball. And not only air conditioning, but a few other things, like Houston, the ship channel, the industry, the commerce, we quickly became a very growing population. And why? That is very special for Houston. So as we look around Houston, these are the sister societies that I mentioned, the Gulf Coast societies. We're just the first to celebrate our 100th anniversary, but others are coming right behind us. And these are the volunteers from the April meeting, since we're talking about GeoGulf. And I want to just say, if you're here, would you please raise your hand or stand up? We want to say thank you. So when we did this storytelling, because Craig did such a good job with our first 75 years, we thought if we're going to celebrate the 100th, we don't need to go back to do the 75, because Craig already did that. So let's just talk about what have we done lately? What has HGS been up to in the last 25 years? The answer is amazing. We organized the table of contents of this special issue by our mission: geoscience, professionalism, education, and outreach. And then we tell the history of how we've accomplished this mission. Let's talk a little bit about each of the mission. First and foremost is geoscience. Now remember that graph I showed about Houston population growing? In the early days, in the Rockhound days, Houston was just a Gulf Coast group with a Gulf Coast focus. But as we became the 4th largest city in the nation, HGS became a Gulf Coast group with a global focus. And the last 25 years, we have had special interest groups that have passionate committee chairs, that have an autonomy to experiment. They attract excellent leaders, many of them serving for decades. You can see these special interest groups, and they make relevant content. And that, I think, is the heart of what HGS has done these last 25 years. And what's more, these committees make conferences. So let's have a shout out to some of the great conferences we've had over the 25 years. So the International Committee has been doing Africa conferences, not just 1 or 2, but look at all these conferences in conjunction with the PESGB. Back when we had the Emerging Technology Committee, we had TechnoFest, which really had a lot of great content. But I think one of the greatest of them all was when the Northsiders came up with the Mud Rocks Conference. And just to tell a little story, Frank Wallace was a pioneer, and he loved bringing this conference to HGS because he had the ability with his committee to do some creative innovation. we were developing the science that was needed to understand unconventional rocks. And so that committee had a big impact on industry. And how lucky that we at HGS could be the host for that. HGS has had great interactions with our local universities. And the Bob Sheriff Lecture, guess what? We're going to have number 25 this November 13th. We've had 25 U of H Bob Sheriff Lectures. Yes, this is wonderful. HGS has featured a lot of field trips, and the one that stands out the most is the Grand Canyon. That's an enduring trip, and how many here have been on that Grand Canyon trip? If you haven't been yet, I encourage you to go. It's just an incredible experience. So those are the few things about geoscience, but let's talk a little bit about our other mission, professionalism. What I think is outstanding in the last 25 years is how we have given not just science, but business role models through the Legends programs, and how we've helped students through scholarship nights and young professionals and helped them enter the industry. So if you're a fan of the Legends nights, I have good news for you. We are going to have another one, January 8th, 2024. Why do we have them the first week in January? Does anybody know? It's because January 10th is the anniversary of Spindletop. So we always try to do a Legend program as close as we can to the anniversary of Spindletop. This one will have Bill Barrett and Gala Masterson. I know you're out there. You need to come and ask Bill some tough questions about his 15 billion barrels of giant fields in Alaska. A shout out to the scholarship night team, Jeff Lund, Nick Bishop, Joe Lynch, and the committee members. If you're one of those folks, a committee member or a scholarship night recipient, would you please stand up? We'd like to acknowledge you. What an impact. And that handsome young guy there, we have to say thank you, John Tubb, because John, you had a very special gift to really get the scholarship night going. So thank you, John Tubb. And if you pick up the October HGS bulletin, as I just did, Carolyn Wachter, are you out there? What a great job. There's so much great content in the new HGS bulletin, and one of the great stories is the HGS Student Expo. We help students get jobs, we help students when they enter the industry, and then when they get jobs, we have programs like the NeoGeos that help them get comfortable in industry. And you know, the NeoGeos, for close to 25 years now, have produced, it's a training ground for future leaders. And not only that, the NeoGeo leaders have pioneered social media, and that has greatly benefited the HGS community. So the NeoGeos are leading. So we've talked about geoscience professionalism, education and outreach. How are we doing on that? Well, let me tell you. Look at all these things we're doing. The maps in schools, the Earth Science Week, the HMNS, the things we do with the Houston Museum of Natural Science. We've had astronauts, we've had paleontologists, and we've had everything in between. And about outreach. So if you look in the lower left, that was the first HGS computer in the office in 1984. Yeah. Pretty impressive, huh? Well, we all have these little handheld devices, and we've taken a giant leap. And I love to say the phrase, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 1,000,000. We have such power now to communicate and to expand our mission with the technology. Okay, so that's what our 3 major missions are. A few words about history and then we'll wrap it up. Here are some individuals having lunch on August 8th, 1923. They are the HGS founders. Let's get in our time machine. 100 years into the future, here we go. Boom! August 8th, 2023, lunchtime, downtown Houston. 20 past presidents and current President Paul Britt celebrated. What does this prove? HGS presidents like having lunch. Together. The mural behind us is the mural over there. It's 1 to 100. And a little bit of a story. We had those presidents in attendance sign it. Now, I thought about this for the 100th anniversary. I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could get all the past presidents' photos? Okay, Sternbach, great idea, but how do you do that? Because let me tell you, it's not easy. Enter miracle worker Craig Dingler. Craig, through his research department, found 98 out of 100 past presidents' photo. And 98 out of 100 is a pretty good score on any test that I have ever taken. So thank you, Craig. We want to give a shout out to Sandy Barber because she created the Jerry Cooley Award, and we appreciate all the Cooley awardees over the years. We think there's room for plenty more, and we want to thank all HGS awardees for their service over the years. And yes, we want to remember and thank our office managers and directors these last 25 years. You know, a lot of the people that we're thanking tonight may not be here, but we remember them and we thank them. And that's past presidents who are separated by age or distance and those who've gone before. So we really are thinking about many, many people that are part of our community. So a few quick time slices, all right? Let's get a little seismic time slices. So at the 25-year mark, Alva Ellisor was one of our great vice presidents. She was a protege of Wallace Pratt, and she was a historian. And back then at the first convention that HGS had, and Jeff Lund's going to tell you about that in a minute, their slogan was free, $5 million worth of salt dome dope. A historical footnote, dope in those days meant information in 1920s vernacular. Salt domes were a big part of our early history. We remember John Amoruso at the 50th anniversary, a legend. Now they didn't do a publication, but they did a membership drive, and they did get flooded out on the 50th anniversary. So all I can say is I'm so glad that we got good weather tonight. Yay, weather. So now, Jeff Lund, come on up. While this coming up, how many here were at the 75th anniversary?